right next to you. But so fortunately, all I have chirping outside my window here are birds, so no cicadas. But I think we'll get started with the program today. I'm Steve Slay, the president of the DC chapter for the Labor and Employment Relations Association. We like to think of ourselves as the international chapter of LERA because we have so many participants and board members from our embassy. We have folks from Germany, Sweden, France, Japan, Korea, and our special feature today from Spain, Lucia Ortiz Sanz, who will be moderating our conversation in just a second or two. I also want to just introduce our host from the National LERA, Emily Smith and Bernadette Tiemann. And they are going to post in the chat box a link for the National LERA conference, which is coming up in the first and second week of June. Thank you, Emily, for being our sponsor for these Zooms, and it's always good to see you and to see the National LERA, of which DC LERA is one of the chapters. So we encourage everyone to join DC LERA and the National LERA as well. All right, without further ado, I'm going to kick off today's session, which is promises to be a really interesting one, continuing on our conversations about the world of work and employment and what's going on in this COVID world that we're in right now. Lucia is going to be our moderator. We're really fortunate to have Oskar Goitia from the Mondragon Co-ops in Spain. He is the executive chairman, CEO really of the Mondragons. He's the boss of a worker-owned enterprise. So it's a really interesting economic model. I've had the opportunity to visit Oskar in Spain, and I've visited with him several times here in the U.S. And it's a really fascinating story and a different way to organize economic activities. Lucia is the Counselor of Labor, Migration, and Social Security for the Embassy of Spain. We have been absolutely blessed to have her as a board member at DC LERA. Sadly, she's going back to Spain in August, so we will miss her tremendously, but we'll look forward to her replacement being active as well. With that as a tee-off, what we're going to do is have Lucia moderate a conversation with Oskar, and Oskar's going to tell us about Mondragon. We're going to try to leave 10 to 15 minutes at the end for questions because I'm sure this is a very active group, and we'll have lots of questions for Oskar. If we go over a couple of minutes past noon, it's not a problem. We'll keep the chat alive, for a few minutes if we go past that. So without further ado, Lucia, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Steve. Good morning to everyone. As AC says, I'm the Counselor of Labor, Migration, and Social Security here at the Embassy of Spain. Today, I'm delighted to share this conversation with Oskar Goitia, Chairman of Mondragon Corp International. So Oskar, welcome to this talk, and thank you for being with us. I have many questions and to address you, but let things get started. First of all, Mondragon Corporation is a successful example of how a cooperative can run in a super competitive surrounding. To better understand what Mondragon is today and how it works, let's introduce the corporation first. Can you share with us some figures about Mondragon and explain what kind of cooperative it is today?
Thank you very much, Lucia. Good morning. Good morning, Steve. Thank you, everybody. It's a great pleasure to share from the north of Spain a different way of doing business and how we are organized. Maybe to answer your question, maybe I can share the first few slides so we can go around and see what is the DNA and sense of Mondragon, as well as what are the main figures, what we do, and finally how we look to the future. It's going to be a short journey. Let me see if this works.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So basically all this started in 1941, when the young priest, Mr. Jose Maria Arizmendiarreta, arrived to Mondragon, which is a small village of less than 25,000 people located in the heart of the Basque Country, north of Spain, and he was the promoter of the cooperative experience. Now Mondragon has become men and women all working together, trying to join forces and try to multiply results to achieve more by individual people around the cooperation. So we are probably the largest cooperative ecosystem in social innovation around the world, and we have quite a unique model around the education, financing, industrial activity, and owners and employers. So this is what I'm going to try to show you in the next few minutes. By nature, our business model is, of course, responsible, democratic, and sustainable. Sustainable is part of our strategic mainstay. So our mission is based on decent quality employment, health, safety, and at work, education, sustainable consumption, innovation, because we need to compete in a very competitive world, and especially with these new trends, digital and eco-friendly transition. I think our model is a unique response in order to be sustainable in the future. So with that, our Sustainable Development Goals created as the United Nations a few years ago, I think our part is to contribute to each of them in a singular way. And this is Mondragon has acquired also these Sustainable Development Goals as part of our head of decisions. What is at the end, how and what is Mondragon? Mondragon is a group of 96 cooperatives, 96 employed-owned companies with 150 sister companies around the world doing business in 4 main areas. We have a lot of industrial activities, financing, retail and distribution, and knowledge. And together we all create a wealth of around 11.6 billion euros turnover. We are what we call ourselves is a global project because we are located around the world with deep cultural roots in the Basque Country, but consolidated in the global market. To give an idea of what means this, we have our sales are going to 150 different countries. As I mentioned before, 141 sister companies around the world, which employs 14,000 people. And 70% of our business is international, is within the international markets. Part of this success is based on the commitment of innovation. We have 14 different R&D centers creating continuously different research and different patents. And the triangle of education, R&D, transferring the knowledge into the business is I think one of the key levers in order to be able to create sustainable business. The number of people which is working in Mondragon is around 81,000 people. And we dedicate every year around 26, 27, 30 million euros in social oriented activities, which represents about 10% of our final profits. So summarizing the main figures of Mondragon, in terms of sales, 11.6, 81,000 people. You see the EBITDA that we generate and what we invest every year in order to create new businesses and in order to maintain the existing employment. How is the distribution of this business around and employment around the different sectors? We have about almost 50% of the employment and the business is in the retail sector, distribution, supermarket, hypermarkets, and all kind of selling points. Then we have another 48% of the business and the employment, which is in the industrial area. And within the industrial area, we have several subsectors like automotive, machine tools, household appliances, components. I will show you later on a few pictures so you can grab how is the type of products we produce. And then there are two minor in terms of employment, which is 2.7% of the people, which is in Mondragon dedicated to financing, which is own bank, our own pension fund, and the insurance systems, as well as the 1.6%, which is dedicated to the university, teaching knowledge in the schools, as well as in the research and development center. So this is more or less how is distributed the Mondragon employment, and more or less the business volume is also aligned with this picture that you can see there. Coming back to the different examples of what can be done in these 96 different companies, cooperatives within Mondragon. So we are producing all equipment required to produce solar panels for the solar fields. We do all the engineering and the material to create infrastructures, scaffolding, and also the metal structures. We have a huge presence in the automotive sector with components, which goes directly to the cars, to the assembly lines, as well as the equipment and machinery, not only for the automotive sector, but also for the aeronautic, railway, another kind of sectors demanding high-end automation and machinery. We do have also consumer goods like bicycles with Orbea, or brand name, which is quite famous in a niche market in the high-end bicycles. And then, as I mentioned before, the household appliances, all components which are produced worldwide. We have probably the major share around the world producing all the cooking devices. We are also equipping all the hotels and restaurants around the world with the kitchens and different cooking material, as well as the elevators and people moving devices. So this is just a few examples of the products that the 96 companies are doing. And as you can see, Mondragon is not a commercial brand name, but each of the companies which I mentioned before, they have their own brand. And this is all are independent companies, are all employed-owned companies, but they belong to Mondragon, and we have certain rules which makes Mondragon strong and makes the companies as well stronger than individual companies. So those are the financing, as I mentioned, bank and insurance, all the industrial companies, the distribution, which is the Eroski brand name, that is the top 3 retailer in Spain with more than 1,500 stores around Spain. And then we have the university, which is a medium-sized, small-sized university, which about 5,000 students in 4 different faculties, like humanities, engineering, financing, and gastronomy. And all the rest are research and development centers related with all the technologies that we have seen before. So I would like to a little bit emphasize which is the basics, which are the basics in a cooperative. So we are employed-owned companies, and we are based on values. And what are the main values that we have? That we are very democratic organizations. That means that each company, it's formed by people, and these people is the one which are making decisions, not only the owners of the company, but also workers in the company. So most of the decisions are taken in the General Assembly, and this General Assembly, each person has the right of one vote, independently of this person is coming the latest day to the company or has been working 30 years in the company. So with this kind of rules in which participation is the central value of a cooperative, and the intercooperation, we create the way of doing business in whatever sector or whatever activity we do. The people is the center of our decisions, and we have a co-responsibility and self-imposed standards which are shared a long time, and we spend a lot of time in our organizations to create and continue people around these values. So we train our people and we renew our values along the years with the new generations. So that's part of our DNA, social responsibility and reciprocity in order to keep business development and create jobs. Our goal is to create as much as wealth as possible and to distribute it properly after that one. So we need to compete as companies in the real markets with a lot of competition, and we need to be competitive enough to create this business and profits in order to be distributed fairly. We are fully committed to the future, and we all believe that we need to leave our projects in a better way than we got it from our previous generations, in order to leave this in a good condition for the future generation. So the next 4 years challenge is to improve the position of our all companies within Mondragon through cooperation and with a lot of flexibility in order to face the future disruptive changes which are affecting not only cooperatives, but also affecting to all the people and all kind of businesses. So we create a roadmap with a strategic focal points in which we are going to concentrate, and basically is to renew and to redesign our cooperative identity with a lot of efforts in the sustainability to have stronger businesses in a better planet. We need to have all our businesses with high added value products with a lot of flexibility and adaptability to all the new trends in the digital transformation, using always the most powerful tool that we have, which is the intercooperation, and trying to keep as attractive as possible for the new talent, not only to attract, but also to retain. So that's basically our roadmap for the future. And I would like to finish my short introduction just to saying that we are ordinary people who together with the rest, we are able to achieve extraordinary things. And this is Mondragon. Mondragon is cooperation, and this is what we do.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. There was a lot of information in your presentation, which I just have to announce could be available to anyone interested. Steve, we can provide that. Well, you talk a lot about Mondragon, and there's a part that I want people to know a little bit more about is the backbone of the Caja Laboral, the financing of the Mondragon. Can you review a little bit the role of the Caja Laboral inside the corporation finances? Explain to us a little bit how this is so specific about Mondragon Corporation.
Yeah. So maybe we need to put the role of a bank at the beginning of the Mondragon era, which is close to the 50s, in which the situation in Spain was quite unique as well. No? We were living under a dictatorship, and at that time, trying to have such a different business model with people which was belonging to a company and as a cooperative was not well understood by the institutions in Spain. So the founder was able to convince a group of people, which was at that time in this small village, studying in the university, in the school. They went to study university, engineering in the university, and then when they came back, the main goal was to create companies in which the people which was working could participate in the management and also in the benefits and the profits of the company. No? But what was the problem? That these employed companies was not recognized by the system, so nobody wanted to really finance such kind of activities. So the Mondragon group at that time was small, but they decided, and the founder was pushing to have a bank inside the group. So the creation of the bank and trying to get the permit from the government to run the business as a bank was a big challenge, but that was a big achievement, because this bank was financing these small businesses and not only starting and helping to get money, but also was bringing into these companies the management system, how to create a strategic view to run a business and try to make sure that the P&L account, such a simple thing, was properly deployed in the company. So around at that moment, I think it was a key knowledge transfer how to run a company, but also was a financing tool. No, this was 50 years ago. At that time, the small companies were increasing the businesses and basically were growing. Nowadays, the group with this 11 billion turnover, we have companies which are, I would say, they have a business volume of 10 million euros, but we have companies which are 5 billion euros. So in this kind of variety of companies, the bank itself has not a key role in this moment, because it's only a commercial bank which is supporting to our workers and the small businesses around the Basque Country. But basically nowadays our financing system is a regular system, and it's I would say imbricated in as a normal company, and most of our companies are getting loans and financed by the commercial banks. So, but it was very important at the beginning, as we mentioned, this Mondragon Bank and the different way of doing bank was supporting the companies and employed-owned companies, which by the commercial banks were not so well known or properly accepted. No, so that is.
Okay, thank you so much. It was very interesting. We're getting, and I have also questions regarding the people of the company, workers. I'd like you to share with us the cooperative worker profile in Mondragon. The corporation has a relevant international branch. Can we find any differences between Mondragon workers in Spain and in other provinces elsewhere, for instance, China or Mexico, the US? Do they have the same status in the cooperative? Do they have all access to dividends? Has Mondragon ever had a walkout? Does it have unions? Can you just explain a little bit of that human part of the cooperative? Sorry. Yeah.
Maybe before I answer that question, we need to understand why we went abroad. I think why being in Spain, no? with these 96 different companies, this part of them are located in strategic global sectors. I mean, when you talk about automotive, machine tools, household appliances, components, you are not able to survive in the market if you are not providing to your customers global coverage. That means that the reason of our companies to go to United States or to China or India was following the customers into those markets where our parts were required, our components were required. So I would say 20 years ago, it started the internationalization process, and about 50% of the companies of Mondragon had been along the years creating subsidiaries in the world. These subsidiaries were created according to the law of the countries that you are located. And the same development that we have had in Spain with the cooperative model was not able to achieve in other countries. So the reason of going abroad and having multi-locations for one company which is producing auto components parts is to be able from one global strategy to serve customers around the world. So our idea is not to create independent cooperatives around the world. We want to create a multinational group, globally managed with a cooperative approach. But wherever we have people employed in China, and you cannot develop a cooperative model in China because the law is not developed for that one, we do not push in that country to fulfill 100% of our model that we have here, because this is not possible. From the other side, the culture of the people which is living in other parts of the world, and how, I would say, how familiar or how close are from the cooperative model is very, very different. When you talk about Brazil, or you talk about Czech Republic or India, the way that they see the cooperativism is completely different. So we are, I would say, trying to have as much as participative model around the world, but respecting the rules of each country. And since legally we cannot create a cooperative in China, we have, in this area, the people is a normal employed people, and the owner of the company that we have in China is the cooperative that we have in the headquarters in Spain. So I think it's a combination of a participative model, but not purely a cooperative model as we have in the Spanish regions, where the cooperative law is fully developed to deploy the 100% of the cooperative model.
Well, thank you so much, Oskar. Continuing a little bit on this human part of the cooperative, continuing talking about workers, worker rights and well-being. We've seen that there are strategic aim in Mondragon. Indeed, there's incredible work and dedication to the Escola Politécnica, the Polytechnic School created at the very beginning of the cooperative. Can you show its role to us and what it is today? What is the main function of this knowledge part?
I think the first part of Mondragon was really the school, the technical school. And when the priest came to this city, and he saw a lot of young guys with low education and no jobs, the first thing he did was to create this polytechnic school. And this school has been the basics of what we see as the Mondragon University. From those days where the young people was educated in basic skills for mechanic, electronics, and so on. Now this has been developed to as I said, as a small medium-sized university with 4 faculties, and we have around 6,000 students graduating in this university. The main area is engineering, because most of the industrial companies are requesting those kind of profiles. Then we have another area which is financing. Education is the number 3, education and humanities, people which is graduating in order to become a teacher or human resources management. And the 4th one is the latest one, which is a little bit more funny or sexy, which is the gastronomy. Since we had in the north of Spain, we have a lot of fans of the good food and the restaurants. So I think this becoming a university degree has been a good start, and together with the local ecosystem of restaurants, hotels, as well as the cooking devices, has been very attractive. And just to give you an example, 50% of the students which are coming to this faculty, astronomy faculty, are coming from overseas, not even Spain. So that is how attractive has become this gastronomy faculty. But to be honest, this is probably #1 in Spain, the university in dual learning. That means that the people which is studying in the university now, the young guys, can work half of the time in the companies. So by the time they graduate, they already have a long experience within a company. Almost 26% of the people which is coming out of the university is staying in the Mondragon cooperatives, but the rest is going to other companies. So it's a very open university in which we try to create people who can work not only as a professionals, but also with certain values, and can create value to be shared with the rest. Basically, not only knowledge, but also other kind of value.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much. I definitely have to go to visit your premises, and just to let the people know that you have like an open policy, so everyone can ask to visit your industry and your headquarters. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are open. Actually, our goal is not to give lessons to the rest of the world how to do business, because we are not for that. But if we can inspire anybody to take part of our experience and to be a good lesson for you, of course, we are fully open, transparent. Doors are open in Mondragon, and probably that is the best way to see how people around the project can create a business, and around this business can create value, and this value can be shared in a fairly way, not only from the business point of view, but also from the human point of view.
Indeed. So let's talk about lessons learned and good practices in Mondragon, especially in these difficult times. I know Mondragon has faced difficult times and survived crisis. I want to focus on two: the 2008-2009 economic crisis and the most recent COVID-19 pandemic. Tell us, what are the lessons learned? What experiences and measures did Mondragon implement in both scenarios, and how this crisis impacted Mondragon workers?
Okay, I said at the beginning that I think to have an employed-owned company model is quite strong, because the people which is working in the company is normally participating also in the management, because you see how the market is evolving. The customer is part of the decisions. So the people which is in the company can anticipate whatever measures has to be done to minimize the impact of whatever crisis which is coming. So it's very familiar in our companies that whenever the business volume is coming down, the people within the company are taking measures in advance. What kind of measures? You can play with the flexibility of the holidays. You can reduce the amount of hours, so you can increase the amount of working hours. You can reduce the salary before the system crashes. No, so those kind of measures are naturally taken by the people within the company. Of course, in an organized manner, and the management already knows how, and the communication system is very strong. And this communication system makes that these kind of decisions are well accepted by the people. And if the volume of the crisis and the descent or the business volume reduction is acceptable, and you can manage by your own company, probably you are able to go through this crisis. And this is in most of the companies how we have, I would say, we have faced the 2008-2009 crisis. Of course, there are some sectors in which the business volume went down not only 10-15%, but also 50%. So in that case, as a single company within Mondragon, you are not able to cushion the problem that is created by the market, that is when it comes the global solidarity that we have at Mondragon Corporation. So what we have as a corporation is that part of our GLE profits comes always to a common basket, and this common basket is what we call a Mondragon Foundation, and this Mondragon Foundation, which holds the money which is coming from all the profits of the companies, is used to support companies which are in difficult situations. So this foundation has already established programs in which one company of Mondragon can apply for some support, given that you do a restructuring plan in your company and you do your own measures. So you're getting part of the funds of Mondragon in order to come through the crisis in a better way. And the same thing with employment. People which you are not able to employ in your own company, but you are part of Mondragon, as you have seen, we are not in one single sector. We are in so many different sectors. Normally, the whole system is not collapsing at the same time, and some sectors are going up and down. So we are able to shift people which is working in one company to another company which is increasing in that moment. So people is somehow covered by Mondragon system, and they are not losing the job. They are shifting to another places to work for a company which requires more jobs, and leave the company which has difficulties. And so the company which difficulties can recover, and we can also cope the demand which is increasing. So those kind of systems are working long time ago in Mondragon, and it's always an economic support from one side, and shifting people from one company to other company to support in terms of employment. So those kind of rules are well accepted, and we see that apart from the solidarity, the self-responsibility measures which are normally applied in the companies to reduce salaries or to increase the working time or to work in a different way are also very good tools to go over the crisis normally.
It's a very good example of internal solidarity and also commitment to the values of the company itself. To be in a cooperative is just to share the profits, but also to share these risks and crisis situation. That's very illustrative. Thank you for that. And speaking of solidarity, can you comment on some of the initiatives Mondragon has with diverse nonprofits and educational programs? What is it doing in other countries, the US, for instance, if any, international programs and nonprofit cooperation?
Okay, basically we have about 10% of our profits goes to social transformation or cultural transformation. That normally we do in whatever countries we are present. Especially here where the headquarters are located, but we do the same in Mexico or Brazil or China. The 140 industrial companies that we have worldwide, even if the United States is a top 3 market for Mondragon, with about 10% of our business volume which goes to United States, we do not have so many manufacturing plants in United States, I think only 3. No? But basically what we do around the world is the same as we do in Spain. So whatever has to do with social transformation, education, taking care of the minorities, trying to improve the life of the childhood in any affected area which is around the companies where any cooperative of Mondragon is located. Apart from that, we also do have a non-profit organization, and this is specifically dedicated for the cooperativism promotion. In which sector? In the very lower level agricultural sector with micro credits, and also supporting to the more, I would say, to the poorest part of the world trying to support the agriculture people to improve in the watering systems, to create communities around the production of vegetables and trying to bring them to the market. And we are mainly active in Africa and South America. But this is a specific non-profit organization that has not a big action, but we like to have not only big actions, but we want to have effective actions in those countries, because those members which are participating in Africa or in Brazil are members of the cooperatives here, which are in the headquarters, which spend 2-3 years of their life working in this kind of projects. And we connect the small agriculture cooperative businesses with our industrial cooperatives, trying to share the knowledge and trying to be connected, to learn from each other, not only our experiences, but also their experiences, how they can help to our people in order to have more cooperativism approach to each life. No? So that's probably one of the richest experience from two complete different cultures, how you can approach to the business approach from agriculture or from auto components. But at the end, we are trying to bring this management model into different fields. No, so this is very rich experience, as I said.
Yeah, it seems to be a very innovative and different perspective of doing this solidarity and helping others no matter which sector, and taking away any prejudices of agriculture helping to industry or whatever. Well, lastly, before I give back the floor to Steve, I would like to ask you just one last question, and then the participants will sure have many other. Where do you see Mondragon in 20 years? Which are the main challenges that the corporation must face in your own words, from your own perspective?
To be honest, I don't know where we see Mondragon in 20 years. If I could know that one, probably I would have a lot of answers, which nobody knows. I think the world is very uncertain in this moment, but as you saw in the presentation, I think we need to work every day to renew our cooperative values, because at the end, even if the company has the same name, the people in one company of Mondragon is every day evolving. People is retiring, young people is coming into the company. So the company is always working with the people which is active in that moment. And this dynamic way of managing and acting the company requires tons of hours to work in the basic values and to put together in order to be successful. I guess the main challenge we have is, since we have become a global organizations, to implement in our organizations not only our own view, which is coming from the headquarters and from our own experience, but also to bring whatever new people which is arriving to our group of companies in China, in India, in the United States, in Mexico, bringing all those values, all those cultures into our organizations, and trying to be more sustainable, more global, more equal, and try to be more adaptive to these new changes. No? I think that's probably in the management system our main challenge, how to bring all these new cultures and try to open more and more our way of doing business without losing our essence. That's probably one of the most, and try to make the rest understand how we are. I think we are spending a lot of time to make I would say, the capital markets, our partners, which do not understand most of the times how we do make decisions, and they want to feel comfortable when they lend us money. and they want to be comfortable when we do alliances and joint ventures around the world. So that's probably the time that we need to spend in the future to be sustainable in such a competitive market.
So, well, I think this talk could be a good example of letting the people know how Mondragon works and how is the essence of the cooperative. So we have some time to interact with the audience. Steve, I'm turning back to you to let some of the attending participants that address their questions and to keep this dialogue with Oskar. Thank you so much, Oskar.
Yeah.
Thank
you,
Lucia.
Lucia. Excellent job. Really great conversation. We could go on all day. So if there is a feature in the Zoom where you can put up your hand. I saw that Ariana had a question in the chat box, and maybe I'll call on you first. You can just take yourself off mute. As you do that, I'd like to ask you a question, Oskar. You alluded to it just a moment ago about the capital markets. You are in capital intensive industries, automotive supply, aerospace. How do you navigate two things? One is raising capital for projects, and how do you stave off private equity from coming in and buying your companies?
I answered the last question. The private equity funds or even some partners, they are asking to buy some of our companies, and actually there has been some examples where all the members have decided to sell the company, but that is something which is very rare. It's very difficult that I don't know, 800, 1,000, 2,000 associates are together thinking that the best solution is to sell a company to anybody. That doesn't happen. But we do have and we do bring outside capital to our companies. Most of the money which is coming into our companies to raise capital and be part of our cooperative is institutional funds, which understand how we work and how we make decisions. And there we have done a big step ahead by bringing the Basque government, the Spanish government, even the European bank, the investment bank has participated in most of our projects in the innovation and creating new businesses. But when we talk about financing, we do with the commercial banks globally, because when we are outside in other markets, the rules that are managing our companies there are the similar rules as any other company there. The only difference is that we have the shareholder of whatever company we have in China is the shareholder is a mother company, which is a cooperative, but the rules to manage the company in China are the same as Siemens or any other company. Yep. So the capital markets are accepting our rules there.
Perfect. Ariana, you have the next question, and then Mindy, you'll have the question after that.
Hi, thank you so much to all of you for doing this. It's fantastic. So I think it was maybe just a phrase of speaking, but when you were talking about the university, you referred to the new guys. And so I was just wondering if there have been more efforts, especially in these industrial engineering tracks, not so much the cooking track, but have there been more efforts in the finance and industrial track to include women is my question.
Sorry, Ariana, I'm not sure if I got
gender balance. What is do you have both men and women who are going through your training programs and who are in your in the businesses?
Oh, this has been changing a lot in the university. I think at the beginning it was mainly young boys, which was entering in the industrial engineering and university. But from the companies and the cooperatives, we are doing a lot of efforts, and there is in the Basque Country supported also by the government. We are doing special programs where young girls can also approach more and more to the let's say industrial engineering, mathematics, and science schools, and we are reaching probably 25% of the percentage increase in the last 5 years due to these efforts that has been done by the private companies as well as the institutions. We are pretty happy of the progress that we are having. This is something which is very sensitive now, and the Mondragon is fully committed to attract more and more girls into the organization. Typically, it has been, I would say, a segregation of certain kind of jobs like financing, human resources for women. In our case, this is changing rapidly, and we are very optimistic in that sense.
Great. Mindy?
Yeah, thank you. So many questions to ask. First, I want to know the process you put in place to educate and train people on the Mondragon values. Is there a curriculum people get? Is there a week when they first start that they meet and discuss the history and the objectives? That's one. And in terms of education and training of workers for different positions in the different businesses, what kind of process is that? You talked about the fact that if businesses run into trouble, you can shift workers, but then they would have to get some training for the new positions, or perhaps there are analogous positions. So I'm curious as to the larger picture that workers get. Also, when they are voting in the General Assembly, what exactly are they voting on? And what kind of preparation do they get for understanding the issues embedded in their votes? So I've loaded a couple of questions all together, if you could answer them.
Okay, I will start from the last one. The General Assembly is the main place where decisions are taken. But we have, in the last 50 years, we have developed our management rules on how to make decisions quite deeply. At the end, one of each of the companies of Mondragon, we have the similar management process. That means that we do have every 4 years, we do medium-term strategic business plan, which then is developed in detail every year. So it's coming down to a yearly targets in terms of business, investments, results, employment. And then every month, this is somehow analyzed, all deviations, and explained to the people where we are and how we do it. So the General Assembly every year is selecting, every 4 years, sorry, is selecting the group of people which will be part of the board of directors. So the administration group, which we call the board, is selected democratically by the people. This board is giving the mandate to an executive CEO, which has to perform and develop the operational plans of the company. And this CEO is selecting the executive directors, which are going to deploy the strategies and go to do the operational work of the company. So we are exactly managed as any other company which is in the capital, in the rest of the market. The difference that we have is that the CEO, as I mentioned before, is reporting to the board every month, whatever deviation we have compared to the targets or the business plan we have created. And this communication of the board is also monthly deployed with the rest of the people within the company. So every worker, every person which is in the company knows very well how the company is performing, how important is the customer, how important is the market, how is going the investment, which is in Brazil, how important is the EBITDA, how important is the ratio of the debt compared to the profits that we have. Whatever economical or business decision, what effect it has is very transparent communication. So the people, when goes to make a decision in the General Assembly once a year, is not something which is unknown for them. People is already educated how the company is performing, and whatever decision that has been done in the past, you already know what kind of effects it has. So before you make your decision in the next General Assembly, you remember and your experience. So I could say that the only difference of a worker which is working in a cooperative and in any other company is the knowledge and the communication system that we have inside. The preparation is more or less the same, but the education you have to make decisions and how your decisions impact in the company is the difference. And you also have always a combination of young people, medium-sized, medium senior people, and this kind of non-official education is part of the knowledge which is transferred around the company as well. So this is how it works in general. So it's very well established system, and nothing is left to random.
Yep.
This is a well-proved system. And talking about education and values, I think this is something which we have our own education center within Mondragon. Whoever it comes to the board every 4 years goes through a training process that we have, and they get a lot of time in order to understand the business, economy, human resources, and whatever related to how to run a company. So this is where we invest money.
That was a great answer, Oskar. And Mindy, I had the fortune of being with Oskar in taking a tour of a number of the companies in the Mondragon co-ops, and Oskar and I walked onto the factory floor, and every one of the workers knew Oskar by his first name. And so they do a tremendous amount of communications, and they have a very flat hierarchy. I think one of the bullet points on there is that there's a 6-to-1 ratio of the top salary to the average salary, which is quite extraordinary. Of course, that's radically different than in the United States, where it's closer to 400-to-1. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I know we've got 101 questions, and Oskar, we want to be respectful of your time. It's 6 o'clock in the Mondragon, and I'm sure you want to get to your family. I really appreciate your taking your time, and Lucía, fantastic job of being the moderator here. And all of you who attended, Emily has put the presentation in the chat box so you can get it there. It will also, the recording of this session will be placed on the DC LERA webpage and the National LERA webpage along with the presentation. So you can get that and check that out at your leisure. Oskar, again, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to hearing about the great success of the Mondragon companies. And he went through very quickly. The Orbea is a great bicycle. If those of you who want to do, the Tour de France or the Tour de Spain, Orbea is the bike to have. So there you go. Thanks again, Oskar. Any last words? No, I just like to thank you. I enjoy talking to you about our experience. If it inspires you, it's fine. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions out there. You can reach me anytime. You can email me, or whenever I am in the United States, or you come here, we can meet and we can explain a little bit more. This is a living model, and this is changing every day. It's created by us, people, at this stage. So the future will be done by us and the next generation. So
whatever you know now from Mondragon probably will be different in 2 months.
Very good. And I just want to remind everybody, June 16th, our own Tequila Brooks is doing a webinar on legal issues here in the US, labor law issues. And it'll be a fascinating conversation. That's going to be a 2-hour webinar because there's so many issues to cover. In the box, in the chat box, Emily has put the registration for the national conference, which is coming up June 5th to the 8th or so. Oskar, Lucía, thank you so much.
Thank
Adios.
you. Adios.
Thank you.
Hasta luego.
Yeah.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.